Hi, everybody. Welcome to Office Hours, where we answer your media and tech-related production questions every single day. Alexander Knight was going to be our question reader this morning, but he's having a little technical difficulty, so Guy's picking up the baton and running with it. Guy Cochran, what have we got?
Good morning. Mike Edwards in Brooklyn, New York is asking, morning, everyone. Thoughts on the Boya Magic AI-powered wireless microphone? And he's got a link here to the Kickstarter project.
AI is everywhere. Now it's replacing microphones, I imagine. Courtney, what do you think about this?
It's magic. No, apparently they've taken the idea of the Russian nesting dolls and turned it into a microphone, at least in this Kickstarter. It starts with these two little capsule-sized microphones, and they love each other very much, and they fit into this 3/8 inch diameter holder, and then you can use them either wirelessly, remotely, or you can put them together into a handheld cardioid or different. I guess it uses AI to change the frequency response and the pattern of the microphone, and you can use it on top of a camera. Look at all those different things. You could maybe put one on top of a camera and one it has a very high signal-to-noise ratio.
Cap mic.
Be in the pudding, isn't it? Let's see. Who knows?
Nobody that we know probably has heard one of those. So, always when we talk about microphones, the bottom line is you want to know what it sounds like. How wide is its frequency capturing ability? I will say I've been astonished at how much research there is into mic modeling. So many of the outboard gear now works with something that has DSP in it and kind of can make your mic sound a bit like some classic mic from the past. Jeffrey Powers, you're in the music side of the world. What's your thinking about this, and what do you know?
Yeah, this is interesting because, you can use it as a boom microphone. You can connect it up to your person, and they even show where they're putting it on people's caps and things like that, although I probably wouldn't, because that would probably just become a nightmare to try and post edit from there. You can use that as a handheld microphone going back and forth. So there's a lot of different functions. It's got 48 kilohertz 24-bit recording and 80 decibels of
dynamic range,
signal ratio, signal to noise ratio. That's what I was trying to remember. So it's got a lot there. I don't think it does recording onto the microphone itself. And I don't know if this is 2.4 gigahertz or 5 gigahertz or what the frequency is on it, because it doesn't say on the Kickstarter at all. 2.4 gigahertz are great for if you're in your basement and you're doing a one-person, no frequencies around to block it type thing. But if you're out and about, especially if you're going to events, then these types of microphones usually fail, and they're always sounding thinner than what would happen if you actually used a regular microphone. I have some of them that record onto the device, and that's the most interesting thing when I hear it, is when it come from the camera. Not only is it thinner, but you also hear some of the static cutouts from there, and then you go into the recording, and you got a better option right there. So if you're doing that for live, if you're an influencer that's just doing something in your basement or in an open area where there's no other 2.4 gigahertz signals passing through, then this will be okay as long as you're at least about 6 feet away from the camera. Even though they'll say, oh yeah, you could turn corners and go way, way, way. And yeah, it could work, but there's always a chance that it won't, because it is a wireless signal. The AI thing, it's. I think they're just utilizing that word AI. It's not really. It's just doing what it's supposed to do.
We need a single key on the
noise reduction
keyboard that says AI, and now and then hit the key, and it just puts AI in anything you write. Guy
AI
Cochran,
is like
seriously.
AI is like Kleenex. You have Kleenex and you have tissue. You have AI and then you have AI. Simple as that.
Guy Cochran.
Yeah. With these, I think they're meant for a lot of these creators that are just doing kind of low-level stuff. And for that, if they were having the microphone on the camera and they were far away, something like this is going to be an improvement. But we've seen time and time again that these just don't sound as full as some of the more professional solutions. So we all come in at different levels, and some people will come in at the $149 level. But if you're at that level, I do like the tried and true Rode Goes, and I do like that some of these, if they've gotten the approval from Zaxcom and done it right, then they can record internally, and then that's your lifesaver, because you're bypassing that hop, because every time you go over 2.4, you're squishing that signal down to compress it, and then whatever the chain is on the other side to go analog into your device, you can have another degradation there. So having it recorded into a device, it's just the reason why movies sound like movies. So as we walk down the whole chain from the microphone to the recorder and the format. And then as far as the AI noise reduction, I mean, that's stuff that we would rather do in post rather than try to do on the fly. But again, I get it, for $150 or whatever in that price point, maybe some of the noise reduction from the other players that we already know are out there, like the DJI, and talking about that whole chain. So DJI has the Mic 2 has the noise cancellation, and CJ has that, and we used it at NAB, and it sounded pretty good for a live, and that's where I would use it. But the other nice thing, if you have a Sony camera, is DJI does have this receiver adapter where you can go directly. So there's no cable. Notice that, so there's a mic input here, but you don't need it with that Sony hot shoe. So if you are in that Sony world where you're using like an FX2, or if you're looking at what to buy, having that no cable dangling off, it's a wonderful thing if you are going to do this kind of project where you have run and gun situations. Having cables streamlined is huge.
Courtney, you had another thought, or is that something?
Yeah, I looked a little further into the video. You have to use it with, apparently you have to use it, I guess. I think maybe you don't have to, with this app that runs on your phone to control it, because the receiver is so teeny-nincy. And I wonder what kind of battery power. Let me see if I can get, there's the receiver right here on the bottom of the phone.
Oh, a little plug into the port in the bottom of the phone.
Quarter, yeah. Is it
USB-C or Lightning? Do you know?
Yeah, it's USB-C, and I think it'll plug in. Well, I guess they have adapters for it. They have a picture of it plugging it into the side of a action camera right there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wonder how much battery life they're going to squeeze out of those teeny little. You can't put a big battery in there, and I doubt they're going to record internally. I didn't see a record button in the app there that said record. So
somebody's putting a lot of money into those. Are nice looking videos for something that doesn't exist yet. As a Kickstarter, I imagine they just have prototypes that are kind of breadboarded together.
Manufacturers, Boya is a big manufacturer.
Oh,
so
are they? Okay, so
a lot of times manufacturers will run a Kickstarter just to finance something they've already had in development for 5 years, just to pay for it to get it to market.
That makes sense. A lot of commentary in the chat today. Mickey McAchore, who knows audio as well as any human I know, says just slap an AI label on everything, even ones that run basic commodity DSPs. So at his level of this, he's concerned about the quality of the digital signal processors inside of things. And he makes the note that we always talk about here, cable over cheap wireless almost always gets you a better result at the same or less price. There's a lot of chat about it. And so the question, it doesn't really exist as a product that you can ask people who use it, who are civilians not associated with the company, whether it's good or bad or indifferent. So at this, James Haldane said, is there a Kickstopper website I'd like to pay to make this mic go away? We just don't know. And so thank you for bringing it to our attention, Mike, and we'll keep an eye on it. And now we know Boya's on our radar for a small, very inconspicuous wireless mic system. It probably, if you're seriously talking about $150, that's a disposable, really. I mean, in terms of good quality mics, and we don't know if it's that or not. So let's move on to the next question.
All right, we got one coming in from Alexander Knight in Port Coquitlam, BC, Canada. When you're using a software-based production tool, anytime you make changes, do you keep a checklist and test thoroughly before committing to using it?
That's a good question. Jeffrey Powers, what's your process?
Checklist? That's crazy. a lot of software nowadays has rollback or undo features, and some of them where you can actually go to the specific area to undo something. Of course, you have to either go within the parameter of like 120 of undos, or you can't have the program close out and come back in because it loses that information. But yeah, a piece of paper and a pen. couldn't find. No, actually, I do know where it is. That's in where my checkbook is, and I don't know where my checkbook is.
Courtney Gooden, your thoughts?
When I'm evaluating a new piece of software, especially something that has just been released, I'm a great bug finder because I will push it every which way but loose, and try and if I discover it crashing or doing something unexpectedly or doing something that is not as advertised in its documentation, I will write it down and I will contact the manufacturer with it. I'll go beyond the checklist. I'll actually complain and point out any bugs that I find. But I'll make sure that it's not just local, a user error or, gee, I didn't read the manual, because I'll always read the manual. And especially if I have any problems, and I'll make sure it's repeatable, whatever it's doing, like software, if it's crashing and sometimes that's fairly difficult to do because it's a sequence of events that can create the crash. Only after I open a project and move it to window 2 and then open another file, then it crashes, and if I do that repeatedly and it crashes each time, then you have a documented bug. And that's where I will contact the manufacturer and point that out to them, and hopefully they will fix it quickly.
Guy Cochran.
Man, you kids have it so easy these days. For those who had
Back
to endure
in my day.
Yeah, I just remember when Premiere and DV first hit the scene, and we had all these bugs that were just in need of shaking out. And nowadays, I'm thankful for how smooth it is, because there's not all the finger pointing that there used to be. And back around that same time, I almost accepted a job at Adobe as tech support. I was amazed that they had rows of machines and rows of printers and rows of every combination that you could imagine. So when they wanted to troubleshoot something, they would actually rebuild the customer's exact layout and then troubleshoot it and figure out what drivers at what version were causing and wreaking havoc, and then they could troubleshoot and fix it. For me personally, I kind of have the luxury, if you will, of having multiple machines. So I'll splash top into these headless machines, and I'll install and isolate things on certain machines, and that's where they stay. They're kind of quarantined in that arena, and they can't do anything else. They can't touch the network. They're just isolated. And so after some testing and beating up on it, then I'll move it over to one of the production machines. But for the most part, it's not a documented procedure. But I do recall when I've had, especially in the network world, I've had professionals come in. There was a very detailed change log as to anything that was going to happen. And they would do the same thing where they would isolate things and they would beta test on them and then go ahead and move them over to their production-ready machines. But they really did a good job of thoroughly documenting everything. So it just depends on what level. And because in some organizations, people are coming in and coming out, it's nice to have that change log so you could see the steps where they were and where they went to, and so you can roll back.
Yeah, for me, it depends on whether or not the client, and so in the years that I spent a lot of time editing at a desk with clients behind me calling the shots, you would know after a while of working with a client whether they were the kind of person who kept going forward and didn't undo a lot, or whether they were the kind of client who would say, that whole second section, what if we just ripped it out and did something else? And they put a feature into Final Cut, and I think all the other software has the same thing. In Final Cut, it was called snapshots, where you could literally just click a button and it would snap the state of the project the way it was now. It was all metadata, so it didn't like clone the project and make another huge memory sink in your hard drive or something like that. So I used to snapshot for one client religiously because that client always was trying things. And we wanted to go back to where we were two big change orders ago. Other clients never worked like that. They would start to build, they would be happy with this, they would go on to the next section and the next section. For those clients, in any session, just the simple undo feature was plenty to take care of their needs. So I think this is something that depends on your workflow and the kind of thing you want to do. Do you like to go back and revise, or are you let's just keep marching forward? Guy Cochran, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and some of the sources of the software depends on if you can trust them as far as they put their alphas and betas out there first. Like Zoom yesterday, right before a meeting, I went ahead and updated. And that's something I heard Grant say, like, I always update right before a show. And I'm like, you live on the edge, brother. But if you trust somebody like Zoom, you get to know them and they're solid. And with like vMix 28, before it got released to the public, we were beating on it for months. So when vMix 28 actually dropped, it was solid, but we had already found bugs. And that's the thing, is there's usually a Slack channel or there's a forum, and everybody's in there just detailing out exactly the steps to reproduce a known bug. And then the developers are in there squashing those bugs as they see fit in whatever order.
Good question, though. Next question.
Next one in from Roscoe Jones in Madison, Indiana, asking thoughts on using AI for video content like this. And he's got a YouTube link here.
I'm going to start with Courtney and then go to Jeffrey. Courtney, dive in.
Yeah, I looked at the link a little bit. It's a lot of very interesting video where they'll start with one image or one fake actress. I assume it's all video. It's all AI generated, and they'll change the environment, but the position of the actor will be the same, and creates very interesting stuff. And I noticed another story came across my inbox a couple of days ago that said that Jeffrey Katzenberg, who is with DreamWorks fame, has thrown about $15.5 million into this company called Creatify, which is a company designed specifically for creating targeted advertising on social media using AI, text to video generation. And so they've raised several. I don't know, let's see, 45 million. Anyway, 23 million so far, I think. So they're coming up. But yeah, the concept is to make targeted advertising, use AI to quickly generate clean-looking, attention-getting, targeted advertising that you can tailor to whoever the user is. So that's interesting. And I have seen, people using Veo 3 to create ads that are really funny and tell a story and have actors that speak the lines. And then I find a lot of other people are doing YouTube saying, this stuff is garbage. Hey, Veo 3, it doesn't work. It crashes all the time. Some of that may be the difficulty in using it. Some of it may be, it's still in beta. Some of it may be the hardware they're using it on. But I can see, if you search for Meat Puppet and Plastic, and he does a very funny, about a minute and a half long commercial for plastics, for cleaning up the environment. That is really funny. And it tells a story. It has dialogue, it has believable characters, real believable characters, and real believable situations. Take a look at that. It's very funny. It just shows that one person can create a completely believable 1 minute long television commercial from Veo 3 or any of the better text to video generation AI tools.
Jeffrey Powers.
Yeah, we are definitely in the Wild West of video AI, and that's for certain. I watched a Veo 3 video this morning of a person that was interviewing people from the 1500s. And some people were saying this is funnier than some of the content that I can find on TV. So creating stuff like that, it's going to be expensive. I mean, Veo 3, I think to use that is like $130 a month, and you'll get only so many credits. And of course, if you make something and it goes completely off the wire, then you just wasted credits on doing that. So I'm wondering how much they spend on putting these projects together, as opposed to, with this one, this is the video right here. The guys, so basically, it looks like he's using like Midjourney or ChatGPT images to kind of accentuate him. Maybe some other AI programs to accentuate what he's doing there, and it's telling a story, and that's the key right there. If you're just throwing in images to throw in AI images, that's not going to mean anything. But if you're doing something that will actually further the story, tell the story a little bit better, I'm all for it. I mean, it's a new way to actually make things happen, make ideas happen. And of course, if you're a creator, if you're not a big budget creator and you want to have a ship flying in the distance, a couple of years ago when Photoshop first came out with their generative AI, I did a video where I basically had the camera pan back, went out garage, went out to the next block, went through a house, and then came right back to me. And I should probably do that video because it's probably going to be a little bit better than it was back then. But it's amazing the things that you can do, and if it helps you tell your story so it gets across to other people, then I'm all for it.
It's interesting times we live in. This reminds me of Michael Cioni's appearance on our show a week ago tomorrow. And he was asked by Alex at the tail end of that what he saw in terms of generative video and stuff. His answer was really fascinating, which is that he thinks, if I'm paraphrasing it correctly, that short form, like we're talking about here, the commercials and things like that, will be the first to fall, because even if they have to iterate 500 times, you're only working with a minute or a minute and a half or whatever. But that longer forms will take a lot longer, because to sustain the suspension of disbelief so that the audience doesn't realize they're being AI manipulated will be tougher and tougher, so that he thinks things like feature films will take a long time to get to that level of suspension of disbelief, just because it's so hard for AI to iterate over long periods of time and not make mistakes. He may be wrong. I don't have any idea. But boy, it sure is a fascinating discussion that's happening out there right now. And we'll continue to talk about it here on Office Hours. Next question.
Next one's coming in from John in Umeå, Sweden, asking, I want a small camera footprint. Could I use heavy loudspeaker stands with 35 millimeter pipe to mount PTZ cameras?
Guy Cochran, I'm going to start with you this time. What do you think?
Sure. Yeah, we do this all the time. We use these glide gear type adapters. Ours actually have 3/8, so this one is a 1/4 inch, but depending on the mount on your bottom of the camera, the camera manufacturer might have a plate, so they might have 1/4 or they might have 2, and it's nice to have the plate for stability. But yeah, we do this all the time with UE150s, and there is a special plate that you can put on the bottom of the UE150, and so that it's extra stable, so that if there is a fast move with all that torque, it's not getting extra slosh going around every time you stop or take off, that it twists the plate. So you want to be careful and lock everything down and make sure it's stable.
Cordy Gooden.
Yeah, shameless plug. For 30 years, I've been manufacturing these, which is a 3/8 inch threaded 3/8 inch coarse thread to 5/8 inch pole. So it'll fit on the end of a C stand or on a baby stand. It'll fit on top, and then you have a threaded screw to lock it down. And I've mounted cameras as heavy as a Arri 35 on top of these. So on a hefty enough stand, as long as you bag it off or it has a broad enough leg base so that somebody's not going to bump into it and knock it over, that's really the only thing you got to worry about. This type of adapter is, it's 16th inch aluminum. It's not going to break or snap off, and it's all milled out of one piece of aluminum. So yeah, they are sturdy enough to mount, especially PTZ cameras on them. I've even mounted small heads with film cameras on them.
Jeffrey Powers.
So I'm trying to find some of the photos that I take. When I go out and I record bands, that's what I do. Is I have a couple old speaker stands that I'll use to put on the cameras. There is what I found was they have these speaker mounts, separate mounts that you can get where you can attach to an actual speaker, but they also work great for PTZ cameras because you can put 2 of them on, depending on your PTZ camera and the width of the base. So I bought locking shoe mounts, and then of course screws to put into there. There is I think one of the stand companies does make something that does have a clamp version of that. So it's a T-bar with 2 clamps that you can put PTZ cameras on as well. So they work well. Here's the problems that you run into. The first problem is vibration. The higher end you go, because I also have extensions for the speaker stands. The higher end you go, you're going to get some sort of shake, some sort of vibrate. The floor in live music situations, I run across this a lot, is the floor is not sturdy. So when people go out dancing, all of a sudden everything starts to shake. And that's also in live events when I've gone out to Vegas and used this system, and just the HVAC system would start to give a little bit of shake. So you have to worry about that. There are some devices that will help with that shake, but and of course putting like a neoprene at the base of the stand on the feet to give it some sort of softness pressure so it can counter that small little shake vibrate, then that'll help a lot. The heavier the stand, of course, the better that, or less shake that you're going to get, but it's going to be a super heavy stand to be carrying around with you. But very, very, very possible.
And Guy, you wanted to come back in?
Yeah, just to follow up on this as well, if you're shooting stages, in case you do decide to put a ball head on top of there, it is a pain to level those things unless you have comms and you have somebody in the looking at the display. So I advise to get away from, because we had that adapter that I had previously shown with the ball head on top, and I was like, we got to get rid of that because we would just sit there every show, okay, a little bit, 2 more degrees that way, and then you're just in there, wasting a bunch of setup time. Where if you can just get it flat the first time, as long as the ground's flat, and usually at these convention type centers and buildings, they're flat. But the other thing is we sandbag the heck out of it. If you did need to isolate, they do make some different isolators that are kind of expensive, but you can get some isolators or just heavier duty stands and just sandbag the heck out of them. And that's what we wind up doing, is carrying some, we call it dirt, carrying some dirt and just load it down. But we have beefy stands. They can go up super high. I mean, I think ours are 12 footers.
Nice. Next question.
Next one in from Tony Mobley in Noonan asking, I have a 43-inch LG behind me in my studio. I am going to move it. How should I turn it into one of my displays?
Ooh, Alexander Knight's going to help you here. Alexander?
Yeah, you can certainly turn it into one of your displays. Just depends what you want to put on it. Having a large display of that size would be good for checking things for like critical focus, for example. So just depends on how many HDMI outputs you have available to you, Tony. I know you have an ATEM Mini. You can quickly run out of HDMI ports on that. If you don't already have an HDMI matrix, you may need that. In fact, in my setup, I actually have an HDMI matrix that I use to either make copies of signals or to route signals to different sources, that kind of stuff. So there's all sorts of things that you can do. Maybe come back and let us know how many monitors you have in your exact setup, and then we can kind of figure out what exactly you want to do with this stuff.
Courtney Gooden.
Yeah, I'm sure it has an HDMI input, so you could hook any kind of laptop or PC or into it, or the output of your ATEM switcher if you want. And how you mount it might be the question that you're asking. I'm not sure, because it depends on which 43-inch you have. I took a look at some of them. Here's one. This one weighs about 30 pounds without the base on it, and it has a base at the bottom, but I believe it has a base mount on the back. So you can probably get a mount that will clip to a table that will hold 30 pounds, which is its weight. And it's a 4K. This is a 4K monitor. If yours is indeed 4K, it'd be great for putting up a computer display, getting a small computer to put some of your stuff on, or your a Mac Mini, plug into it and give you a 4K display where you can put a lot of different screens and arrange them around and make it useful for you as a display in front of you rather than behind you.
And Jeffrey Powers.
So I used to, I don't right now, but in my previous studios, I used to have a 50-inch TV that was actually right behind this camera right here. And the idea was it was basically a confidence monitor, so I could actually see what was going on without diverting my eyes from the lens too much. The only problem is every now and then something would get behind that camera and I'd have to do this to kind of see what I needed to talk about. But for the most part, that was a really nice way to do it, instead of using something like a teleprompter to do the up and over image where I'd have to reverse it and everything like that. As for stands, yeah, you can get a table mounted stand. You can go on Amazon and get one of these stands where, because I have my 43-inch monitors over here, it's just basically a display stand that you use for conference rooms, so it can be wheeled around. So if I need it to be over here, I can just wheel it over here or right behind me. So it's got a lot of versatility to it, as opposed to having something static. So if you do need something behind you, you've got it.
Guy Cochran.
Yeah, and just be aware that it might not be worth the hassle, because in an environment like this one here, where you can see that I've got the display behind me, I had to really season to taste the exposure and the lighting. So you may paint yourself into a corner if you're now limited because that display isn't very bright and you can't crank it up, and so you're stuck at a certain exposure. Now you have to introduce a lower ISO or noise, or you just can't get the exposure that you want for you. So it's just questionable as to why you really want to use this. Is it really serving your audience or your production to have that, and is it distracting? Do you really need it, or is it even large enough to do what you want? So I would just really think about it before diving whole hog and mounting and drilling holes in your wall or whatnot.
Hey, don't forget it's Thursday, which means that tonight, The Rundown with David Paskin. He hosts a panel that takes a deeper dive into the why behind the latest tech. That's one of the new shows we have, relatively new shows, been on for a while here. Lots of fun. So tune in tonight, 6 p.m. Pacific time. David does his show. Next question.
Fred Parr in Denver, Colorado asks, is it worth it to try and repair a broken Allen and Heath Zed14? It's got bad channel strips.
And Alexander Knight's going to start us off here.
Bad. The word bad is very vague here. So what exactly is wrong with your channel strip? So obviously you said channel strips, plural, so obviously more than one channel strip. That's not a good sign. I'd be curious to see what exactly you're experiencing there. Fred, is it that you're not getting audio at all? Is it that when you turn one of the pots up, it's scratchy and noisy? There could be various problems happen. If you're actually getting audio passed through those channel strips but they're noisy, then it might be time to take the whole thing apart, clean out all the pots. There's probably years of dirt and goo. Who knows what's in there? Is it worth fixing? It depends. I've had these types of analog mixers of this size, even some from Allen and Heath repaired. Sometimes if it's just, a couple of minor parts that need to be replaced, like capacitors or resistors, someone still has to fully dismantle it. There's a lot of screws. It's easily $200 to $300, I find, for even just repairing one channel strip. My recommendation in general for this type of mixer would be it'd be time to move to a digital mixer. In fact, actually, Allen Heath has a really great, affordable new line of portable digital mixers with a touchscreen. It's the CQ series, and they have a CQ12, CQ18, so it just depends on how many inputs you're looking for. So you may want to really think about investing in a digital mixer. They're pretty affordable these days, and they have a lot of benefits that far outweigh sticking with that analog mixer.
Courtney Gooden.
Yeah, I'd say no. Because this particular mixer, if it had plug-in channel strips, you might go for it and pull out the channel strips and send them out for repair. But these type of mixers all work with a single PC board that covers this whole giant area behind it. And everything is surface mount electronics that are soldered directly to the PC board. And in order to get to that PC board, at least to the front of it, you have to take out every single one of these knobs and then a lot of screws from the back, and then disconnect all the ribbon cables that connect to it. This connect, the I/O board up here may be a separate board, but I think all of your channel strips are one monolithic PC board. And if there's a problem on one channel strip here in the middle, there's no way to get to those electronics, even to clean the pots, other than to squirt stuff down through the slot here. You can't clean these encoders or anything because they're between the board and the top surface. And so there's no way to even get to them. So at $679, mark the channel inputs that are bad and use it as a sub mixer or an auxiliary mixer for stuff you want to pre-mix stuff to get it into your new mixer that you're going to buy. That's probably going to be even cheaper than that $679 for.
Next question. Sorry.
Next one's coming in from Roscoe Jones in Madison, Indiana. And Roscoe asks, would the script breakdown process used in narrative film have applications in pricing corporate projects? What documentation is helpful for determining project pricing?
Yeah, I think to a certain degree, I would suggest that it is. Oh, Courtney raised his hand here. We didn't have anybody for the moment, so I'm going to let Courtney talk first about it. Courtney, go dive in.
I was just letting the question sink in a little bit.
I got you.
I think that, of course, because I've worked on films or television shows where, it's like, they have a page quota. We're going to shoot a page and a half today, or, that's our goal is to shoot a page and a half today, and that's how they do a script breakdown. But then you'll hit a page where it says, the ship catches fire and sinks. That's, 6 words on the page, and it could take you 6 weeks to shoot that scene. So it depends on what the page is, and that's why it's important to break down the script and not just say, look at the thickness of the script or the number of the pages of the script and bid based on the number of pages, because there can be complex scenes that can send your budget through the roof. If you're doing a corporate video, even if it's a corporate video, you may have a scene that has to be shot on location, and the rest of it can be shot in your little mini soundstage, or in front of a green screen. So you do have to break it down scene by scene and determine what's the cost of producing this particular scene. Do we have to bring in extra equipment, extra people? We have to wait for a certain type of weather conditions. Does it have to be outdoors? Is it indoors? Does it require special lighting? Does it require video backgrounds? All that stuff has to be taken into consideration, and a script breakdown will help you do that, especially if you're shooting outdoors, day, night scenes, big difference.
And there's 2 things that I took from the film world that really helped me in my corporate projects. The first thing was the traditional budgetary breakdown of above the line and below the line. Typically, above the line costs are fixed asset costs and things that you pay once. There's a lot of things in there, but if you're going to do a budget for buyout music or stuff like that, it would go above the line because it's not really going to vary depending on how many days you shoot and whatever. Below the line, you have variables. How many days do I need cameras for? How many people are on set? What is the cast and crew going to cost me? And that changes based on how many days you deploy those assets. The other thing that I've been a big proponent of is the treatment. That's a term from Hollywood that had to do with a small document, usually 1, 2, maybe 3 pages, that explained why you're doing the project in the first place. I've found if you start with a treatment the way that the old textbooks discuss it, you're going to very much short-circuit problems, because if you know why you're making the video, you'll understand what you do need and what are optional things. And the treatment talks about the reason it's being made, what problem are you trying to solve with the video, and a brief outlook of how you plan on going about that and the result you want from making this particular production. You get all that locked in before you begin, and your projects end up being much more successful every single time. So I'm a big proponent of the old treatment form. Words for whatever good they do you. Next question.
Next one in from Jesse Kester in Glendale asking, I'm traveling for a shoot soon and want to live that carry-on lifestyle. What lighting solutions for talking head interviews would fit in a Pelican 1510?
Oh, Guy Cochran's going to start us out here. Good topic.
Yeah, I can show you. Yeah, it's a lot of these that I like to carry. These are the Aperture MT Pros. So you're thinking of, key light, fill light, backlight, background light. So these can work wonders because you could have them as a key and a fill, but you could also use them as a background light because these ones change to any color of the rainbow. For a hair light, they could work. I carry, so you notice that this one, it ships with the little tripod stand, but you're most likely not going to use that. But if you're traveling to like a hotel room or if you're not able to rent some C-stands, I carry around a whole arsenal in my backpack of these different clamps. So now I can clamp on, and these are robust. These are by Triad Orbit. And then it's an ecosystem, so I can put my articulating ball head so I can get the light just where I want. With that piece, I can have it on the top or the bottom, and then there's different goosenecks and stands like this, so you could get that hair light just where you want it. And I'll wind up using like whatever's in the venue to get things up high, so I can get that angle and get that hair light where I want it. Because another light that I'll carry is this Felix I think it's a P360, and this one has barn doors, and now you can see that you can adjust and shape a light wherever you want to place it. So between the MT Pros and the Felix lights, you got a pretty robust system that does fit inside of a 1510, and with the Triad Orbit assortment of different clamps and arms, you can get those lights perfectly where you want them.
Jeffrey Powers.
Yeah, I was going to say that you have to think of two parts to this. One first part is being the light itself, and the second part is being the stand or the way that you're mounting the lights. I have the Newer has the TL series. I have the TL60s in studio here. TL30s are about yay big, so they could fit into a 1510 fairly easy. Of course, doing the mounts is also would also add to your 1510. You might want to think about a checked piece at that point. Another thing is, and I was really, especially about 8 years ago, I had a ton of these. These were the fabric LED lights. The best part about them is you could put them on a stand, you could tape them up on a wall, you could tape them up on a pillar, and then splay out the light if you need to. A lot of different things. These are the Godox panel lights, and I don't see these too much anymore for the fabric lights, because they always would come like I have the newer versions, and they always came with a frame that you'd have to put together. But once again, you still needed some sort of cowboy stand, some sort of a way to mount it up if you were putting it onto a stand. And of course, if you're doing interviews, you kind of don't want, I know I wouldn't want to put a lot of stuff onto the camera mount, because that can always cause problems for the camera, shaking and possible tip overs or anything like that. So having them separate, and of course the light usually is probably placed a little bit farther away from the camera than if you clamped it right onto the camera. So you'd have a lot less option to figure out your lighting situation if you did it that way. So keep those things in mind. You might want to do a check bag for some of these stands, or because there's no Fry's anymore in the United States. That was always the go-to. If we didn't have something, we'd go to Fry's, or you could find a camera store and see if they have it. But a lot of throwaway stuff is not there anymore. You could try Amazon, but you want to check with, if you're sending it straight to your hotel or to the business, make sure that they don't have any policies that will hold it up in some sort of stock area for 24 to 48 hours if you do that.
Alexander.
Yeah, I'm glad Jeffrey brought up the flexible light stuff. In fact, that's recently I bought an Amaran F22X, which is a bicolor light. It's a 2x2 panel, and they make a slightly smaller version of that too. I don't use a 1510, but you might be able to fit an F22 rolled up into one of those cases. So you might want to check one of those out. And they're awesome lights. They really are fantastic.
I'm going to recommend something that I've had. I was astonished at how well it worked for me, and it is, I originally bought this, which is Pixel's G1. It's a little RGB light. The color rendering index is 97. It goes from 2500 to 8500. It has an onboard battery, so it's rechargeable. It has a USB-C port, so it's easy to recharge. And if you don't want the onboard battery, if you need more time than that, you can literally just attach any kind of USB-C power supply, and it'll work great. I own now 4 of these. The reason was I bought 2 from Pixel of the G1s, but then our friends at Newer, the incredible, we sell gazillion things, must have bought the patent or something, because they now make this exact same light at even less cost. This one was like $70. I think it's down to like 45 or something like that. For little kickers, a stick of light back in the corner to brighten up that corner of the room. These are fabulous. They're color controllable, and you can get special effects and things like that. I don't really do much of that, but to be able to put like a blue wash on a bar behind a scene so that it's just there but not really big in there. I use these a lot, and I have 4. They're incredibly small and lightweight, so you can put 4 in a belt pack and just pull them out and use them when you need them. Guy, you had something else you wanted to do.
Yeah, I just wanted to grab real quick the light that Alexander was talking about. This is the F22. So I don't know if this would fit in a 1510 or not. It is more like a check thing, but it is like, you can see it's kind of like camping gear where you break down this piece here and then it does fold up in half. I don't think you could fold it in half again. So it is this length here. But
the light
is nice
the softbox. The softbox is the light.
Yeah, it's an amazing light, though. If you can get these, I love this light. This light's amazing, and Alexander can attest to the quality of the light. Well, you're seeing him using it right.
There you go. So hopefully that helped, Jesse. Good luck, and let us know how the shoot goes. Next question.
Next one's coming in from Douglas Carmichael, and Douglas asks, I'm getting an 8 gigabyte Raspberry Pi 5. What production use cases have you found for the RPI?
Excuse me, Courtney Gooden's going to help us out here. Courtney?
There are a number of things. I think, I don't know, but I think DaVinci makes a little shield so that you can use a Raspberry Pi to interface to Blackmagic products, or a little hat, as they call them. I think they call them that. These things, Pi 5s, run Linux. This one's about $80. If you go up to the 16 gig, well, they're out of stock right now. Too bad. But what I would go for, you could use it to use Playout B. Jonas has a great playback software that interfaces with the ATEM products, so you could use it in production for playing out video. That's a possibility for use for it. I like to use these for a similar price. Almost. I could get them for about $132 because they had a coupon. This is a GMK Tech N97 PC. This comes with a Windows 11 license, Windows 11 Pro license on it. It supports 2 4K, as does the Pi 5, 2 4K HDMI ports. These you do not need adapters for them because they're full-size ports. It has gigabit Ethernet on it, micro SD card, 512 gigs of onboard storage, and these run a full version of Windows. You can run anything that you want to run Windows on. I use it here. It's running. Here's one. This is running OBS Studio. This is on one of those GMK Techs right now, so you can run OBS on it, and just about anything that will run on Windows. So that opens up a whole new world of stuff that you can run on. But if you've already got it coming, look into Playout B, and there's another. I think they still make an interface to interface it to the ATEM software that runs on a Raspberry Pi.
Next question.
Got one in from JJ McKenna in Scabo, California, asking, do you have a suggestion for a ceiling mount microphone boom arm for a recording studio to move mics up and out of the way when not in use?
Alexander Knight's going to help us out here now.
Yeah, so Can-Am makes ceiling mount booms that you can get. They don't offer a huge range of motion other than maybe just up and down. So another option is to look at, depends on how much flexibility you want. You can also look at something like this. If you look at Triad Orbit, they have a huge catalog here of really cool modular-based systems. Some of these mic booms have ball heads on the end. So if I was going to put something on the ceiling, I would probably look at Triad Orbit just because they have so many options for flexibility. Like if you might want something with more than just a vertical adjustment. So you might want something with a ball head that you can, move left to right, up and down, top, that type of thing. So Triad Orbit.
Hey, don't forget, if you value what we do here, there are a few ways you can help. You can like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's simple and costs nothing. You can volunteer at officehours.global/volunteer. That also costs nothing, and we would really appreciate it because it's a great team, and to become a part of it, you get to meet a lot of the people that you see on the air and off the air in the backstage parts of this. And if you want to make it even simpler than that and have a little extra cash, you can donate to us at officehours.global/donate. We are a 501c3. Next question.
Next one in from John Foltz in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania, asking, when using Keynote or PowerPoint, do you use guides in your work?
Courtney Gooden's going to help you out there, Courtney.
Well, when you've got a deep jungle in your PowerPoint, you have to have a guide. No, I use, if you're talking about, there's templates, which basically have all of the stuff laid out in a pleasing format, and then you just replace the text with your own text. And then there are guides. Guides are the type of lines that you can bring in. You turn them on within PowerPoint. I believe Keynote has the same thing, so that'll bring up a dotted line, for example. And there's smart guidelines, and then there's some that you just line them up next to the lines so that you can line up columns of text or horizontally line things up. There's some that are smart guides that will snap automatically to that guide when you get the text object close to it or picture object close to it, so you can have a pleasing layout that's symmetrical. So if that's what you're talking about, guides, yeah, I use them. We use them all the time in Photoshop also for aligning text, but they're built in, I think, to PowerPoint and to Keynote as well.
Next question.
Next one in from Blaine Thomas in Antigua asking, how can I stream my local concert as a pay-per-view event?
Jeffrey Powers is going to start out with some help for you.
Hello, Blaine. So there are several different ways to do this. One of the easiest ways is a system called Vimeo. You can get on there, you can set it up, and then you can go for a stream from there. If you're looking for something like TV quality, like going to Netflix and excuse me, there it is, then you can then that might be a little bit tougher to do. But you could definitely do it. You get what's called a CDN, Content Delivery Network. You could things like CashFly offer options, so you can do live streaming. Of course, the payment part is going to be on your own for that. Even with YouTube, they do have the communities area where memberships, if you get a membership, you can actually put videos on and live streams on where you have to have paid to actually watch the video from there. But if you're doing local, that might be a really tough ask for and to see any type of return for that. But the easiest way is you collect their money and then you do a Zoom, and then you just give them the Zoom link and then have them watch from there. So it really depends on what type of quality you want to stream out to people. If you just have people that can't make it to the concert that want to watch from home, then something like a Zoom would be perfect. But if you're looking for high production, then you might want to go for something like a Vimeo and have them use their systems to take all the payments.
Guy Cochran?
Yeah, exactly what Jeffrey said. I like Zoom because if you have a 1080 account, you can put in music that might be copyrighted and not get it taken down by some of the other algorithms. Like if you put it to a YouTube or a Vimeo, there's a chance that it could get knocked offline. So Obvio, our friend Grant in Australia has Obvio, which is cool because it has something unique where if somebody goes up to that little shield in the corner and clicks to share that information, that meeting ID and password, it doesn't work. It sends them down this rabbit hole to a registration page. So they have a unique way because they deal with a lot of high-ticket events. So I would look at Obvio. It's spelled obv.io, and that is a system that works very, very well.
And next question.
Next one is in from Alexander Knight in Port Coquitlam, BC, asking, while I understand that ISPs need to do maintenance on systems and hardware, Shaw is reporting that in some regions, planned maintenance will take your internet down for up to 7 hours. How is that acceptable in 2025?
Courtney Gooden's going to help you out here. Courtney?
Well, planned maintenance usually will not take you down for that period of time. The only time that happens if they're changing over from coax to fiber, for example, and they have to switch everybody over to a different point of presence. And it's going to take a while to, wire it up. They will build it out in duplicate and operate it alongside whatever it is they're going to switch it from for a while before they switch it to minimize the downtime. But sometimes, depending upon the outage and what the cause of the outage is, and what type of maintenance is required to fix whatever it is they're needing to fix. It can be down for 7 hours. They will usually, if they know they're going to take you down, they'll notify you so you can plan for it. Usually they'll try and take it down in a specific area in the middle of the night. So if you're a night hawk and stay up all night, it may be a problem for you. But usually when mine has gone down, it's usually been after 1 a.m. in the morning and comes back on before 6 a.m. the next morning. So bear that in mind, and they a lot of times will credit you for the period of time that it's out. They usually try and minimize the outage as much as possible, but there are things that can create outages, like somebody slams their car into a telephone pole and takes out a whole neighborhood. That has to be, telephone pole has to be replaced. They have to replace cables. That can take quite some time. So accidental outages are much more difficult to replace. And there are websites that show you, for all of the major ISPs, maintain a outage map, which will show you where they're having trouble in what areas and what planned outages are planned. And it'll have a heat map that shows you how many people are complaining that their internet is down in what neighborhood. So check that before you do anything else. Starting to complain,
Jeffrey Powers.
First of all, be lucky that you got an actual notification that the internet's going to go down for up to 7 hours. So sometimes that just doesn't happen. Alexander, are you using business or consumer internet?
Yeah,
Because
I'm using I'm using consumer internet, so there's no real SLA service agreement or anything like that. So
Yeah.
I may need to switch to the business service. They actually didn't notify me. I actually had to look at their outage page and looked at all their planned. The weird thing is, like, my internet went out this morning for about 5 minutes only. Usually it's quite reliable, but they do have a page that says, like, these are all the regions where we're going to be doing upgrades and this is how long it's going to be going off for. It just shocked me. It stunned me that in 2025, considering how everything that we do relies on the internet, how somebody could be out for 6 or 7 hours. I mean, that's an entire day, which,
There
you know,
are some-
and think about how many people work from home now. That's not good.
Yeah, that's true. And as Courtney said, it'll probably happen in the middle of the night rather than during normal business hours. But yeah, it's not unusual, especially if they have one cable. You're in an area, like, for instance, let me think. In California, you have. What's the name of that city? It basically, there's a lot of rocks. And so trying to get cable into a specific city might be one way. And that's the only way that they get it in there. So that's always a possibility that's it. Yeah, and I know you're not in one of those remote areas, but it's more of the fact that, you know, they're planning for the worst situation, and it might just be a 2-minute outage. It might be a 7-hour outage, and you might not ever see that it happened.
Guy Cochran.
Yeah, the quality of your life depends on your ability to anticipate problems and solve them before they become real. So I highly recommend getting something that'll fail over so you have a secondary source, and that way you are prepared. If you're doing mission critical stuff out of a residence, you don't have an SLA. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. You either get a Starlink, you get a cellular connection, or you get something that you can fail over to, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And so if you can, I mean, mine barely hits, like, maybe once or twice a year, but when it hits, it's a comfort thing, you know. And it's one of those things where, do you really want to? Is what you're doing worth putting in that kind of redundancy, because it does cost? And that's the thing, is what is it that you're doing, and what's the cost of failure? Because if that knocks you off of a $20,000 client in one bang, then that's worth it, you know. And that's when you start developing maybe some cloud contingencies or something where you can push it to somebody else, or into AWS or Google Cloud, and that way it's remains stable, and you could take over with your cell phone or something like that, or an iPad.
Next question.
Next one in from Jack Cannon in Phoenix, Arizona, asking, what are your favorite digital signage solutions to work with Raspberry Pis? I have 12 TVs. I want to deploy signs to a local veteran center. It'd be great to be able to manage all remotely from the web.
Oh, Jack, that nobody raised their hand on this, and I think you just got the wrong. Oh, well, there we go. Courtney's going to come in. I know we've talked about this before, and there have been some solutions, so maybe Courtney remembers them. Courtney?
Well, in the past I've done this, but I haven't used remote access to it. BrightSign I've used, which is a company that specializes in digital signage devices, and they have players that are designed to connect to the internet and to be able to access them and download media players and manage them remotely. Somebody probably has done something on the Raspberry Pi, but I haven't looked at it yet. And I was on TV shows and stuff where things have to boot up. I found these, K-World used to make the R8. There's a number of different Diamond Video, remember them, used to make a little video player that plays back high-def video, and they're so tiny. They're about the size of a matchbook, or a little bit bigger now. They have an HDMI output, and you can load media onto them, and it'll play H.264, H.265 files, and it'll either play a playlist or it will put them in a loop. Now, they don't have remote access, so I know what you're looking for, but Raspberry Pi, I'm sure there must be someone to do a little research that makes digital signage apps for the Raspberry Pi to handle just that situation. But then you do have to have them hooked up to the internet and make sure that they come on automatically when the power fails, comes back on, and come up and running in your software, your digital signage software, so that you can recontact them without anybody having to go out and run anything remotely on them.
Jeffrey, do you have a quick thought?
Yeah, I actually did digital signage back in about 2011, 2012. And what we would do is we would run remote software going in there. And back then that was really tough. Today you have many different options, from a team viewer to go to my PC, or just basically punching holes into your router. So not physical holes, of course, punching holes in your router so you can access the content remotely. So very possible. It really depends on the system that you're going to be using to displaying those videos on the TVs.
Alexander, can you quickly get this next one in? I think people would like to hear it.
Yeah,
go
so
ahead. Guy. Oh, Guy.
Yeah,
It was Alexander's question.
Francis Fry in Cambridge, Mass. is asking, Alexander Knight, there is no reflection of a light in your glasses, yet we can see a catch light in your eyes. It looks amazing. What's your secret?
Okay. Alexander, take it.
Yep. So just quickly, I mentioned it before. So I am using the Amaran F22 X, which is a bicolor LED. It's one of these flexible LED panels. It's a 2x2. Comes with two different diffusers, and I also have the grid in front of it as well. This is what one of the diffusers looks like. So it's fantastic. Like, I replaced all my I had three small, like they were 10-inch LED panels. I just have this one. It's mounted right on the ceiling at about a 45-degree angle, pointed down. So it kind of just worked out that way with the way it's angled high up on the ceiling, pointed down. I don't really get reflection in my glasses unless I look up that way, which I would never do, or if I turn my head from the side, you can kind of see it there. But if I'm looking directly at the camera, I don't really get much reflection. So I'm really happy with the quality of this light.
And generally, what's the price point of that?
Oh, I think, well, I'm in Canada, so it's more money here, but I think I paid $8.99 for that, and I think it's $6.99 for the F22X.
So it's about a $700 solution, give or take a little bit, depending on where you are. All right. I wanted to get that in there because I thought it'd be really useful for people. Thank you for paying attention to the show today. Thank you for being here every single day when we do this. And incredible thanks to you who put questions in the show today, our producers. We can't make this show work without you. In fact, this show exists to try to help you find answers to your questions. And the other part of that process is the panelists who freely donate their time, come here every day and answer questions. And it's an amazing resource. I'm hoping that everybody appreciates the panelists that come in here every day as much as I do. And to our amazing back-end crew, that quiet army of people behind the scenes. You don't get to see them except the few names in the credits. Occasionally, somebody from the back-end crew shows up, like Mickey will come in and do the Wednesday show for audio and things like that. But most of the time, they go unsung. And we need to sing about them because they're amazing people doing an incredible job to make the show happen every day. So our Tlaloc traversal today, it's easy for me to say, was 37,000 miles. That's how far you would have had to travel to get this expertise from all these people. That's 59,000 kilometers, 292 million bananas for scale. We'll be right back here tomorrow on Friday doing the same thing. See you then.
So 1900 tomorrow.
Oh, it's a milestone. Nice.
The turn of the century.
Yes. We're in the office hours 19th century.
That'd be the 20th century, but who's counting?
Oh, yeah, you're right. 0 to 1. I keep forgetting.
I have some gruel, please.
See y'all.
Adios.
Bye, Alexander. May your network problems solve themselves.
Thanks.
Starlink.
Yeah, that won't cost much.
All right. Catch y'all later.
Bye-bye.